I have a feeling Galvin means lightning. I have no clue. That's why I couldn't give like any further translation to you the other day. There's nothing that translates what those names mean to me, except for that demos is like Greek for the people, kind of like the masses, and hypnos is pretty clearly the mind. So I was like, all right, well, there's two mages in these two things. Maybe Galvin means lightning, but I didn't really have a response for you. That was the biggest thing there.
Yeah, I was thinking that because I thought galvanize, and I figured maybe it has something like the same base.
Right, electroplating. That's kind of why I was saying the same thing, that I feel like it might be lightning based. But like there was no solid way to describe that to you. But that was one of those things where again, like a lot of things, you kind of can jump at it and guess, or you can try to do research and make a little bit more informed of a guess. But yeah, as you guys kind of like pile up these stairs, it just kind of follows beside you, kind of floating in the free space, kind of between. Most of the layers of this actual tower kind of just like cycle through rooms. And you just kind of have like these little kind of base landings kind of in between. But the first one you'll get to, you guys just kind of have an open room, maybe with like something like desks and kind of like ruined furniture. Might give you off a little bit of kind of a feel of like a study. And there's essentially stairs that continue on upward, or you can try to hold this point.
Yeah, so I think Brannick is going to or like tell the Galvin, um, guard the landing, um, like kind of at the top of this first flight of stairs. Um, and I'll look towards Fen. Need to go higher? Should we hold here?
Not sure, Brannick. I had two visions. One of a great flood of water, and the second vision was of a swarm of Nothics heading our way. I'm not even sure if it's real or not.
Well, if you're having a great flood vision for a great flood of water, we should probably get up a little higher just in case. We don't want to get caught in that.
Agreed. Let's keep going.
Are you changing your thoughts to the Galvin, or are you leaving it behind as you all continue up further?
Yeah, so I think once he decided to keep going, he'll be like he'll change his instruction to like essentially guard our backs, like follow behind. Um,
So
keeping
you'll
all
have
the
it
numbers
follow
in check.
behind Galeria.
Right. Yeah.
So moving up another level, you'll probably find something along the lines of maybe like two different rooms kind of off this main setting, give you an aspect of perhaps these are some sort of like more private studies, but it kind of like comes up to the stairs. You can see these opposite like catty corner doors, and kind of continuing across the actual distance of the tower, you can see another stairwell that leads upward. Um, Roll an insight for me here, Fen. From your perception, you can tell that the glow of the Mythalar from without this tower, from outside of this tower, from inside of Yithrin, you can see that same kind of yellow white light coming down these staircases in front of you. All of the rest of this area has been lit from kind of like a silver, almost ethereal kind of white light, like the stars from that initial planetarium. You've seen that part of this tower is in ruins. You're probably coming up to those ruins. Do you guys continue to rush up the stairs, or are you going to hold this point?
think,
Go ahead.
having heard Fen talking about the water, I think Brannick will want to try and continue up and get a look outside.
Yeah, Fen will suggest the highest ground possible.
So as you guys move across and start to move up these next set of stairs, you will eventually come to the point where these stairs are actually climbing without the walls of this tower keeping it inside anymore. You'll basically be freestanding on stairs where the tower has crumbled. It's not necessarily the type of thing where you can't move past Fen, but it is definitely essentially like not terribly comfortable to be side to side with one another on these stairs. They pretty well cater to one person kind of passing by two people, but you're not going to like have a conversation of two people and a third person be able to get by. The stairs are for going up or for going down, not really for staying on. And eventually you will come to this top point. You'll see kind of Fen is essentially at the end of these stairs where there's just an abrupt terminus, and the destruction of this tower is basically all that stands outside. You're probably looking down about 80 or so feet to the ground below you. Uh, if Brennick wanted to get to that position, you two could easily swap positions with each other and you could get a better look yourself. But you're more or less overlooking the city of Yithrin from there. And I would say probably pretty easy to recognize, like, at least somewhere down below you, the kind of pitter patter of feet. Whatever you saw with the Nothics, you probably have a pretty solid feeling it has begun.
Maybe best not to be stuck out in the open air here. Brannick will suggest and kind of nod to Goldie area, like perhaps we should get back somewhere we've got walls.
Walls will definitely be useful. But there's been on these stairs and they're not connected to the anything. This would probably be a type of place to get caught up at to the flood or to a flood or should enemies arrive. This will not play out in our favor. I suggest we just go down until we go to where we have some walls to our backs at the very least.
I mean, if you were looking for a place to have a battle where nobody can flank you, the stairs are perfectly functional for that. You guys could easily have Fen holding a frontal position, and you can only get assaulted by one or two creatures. I mean, technically, creatures can move into and move backwards, but there's basically only one or two creatures could ever stand abreast on the stairs.
Yeah, I mean we haven't seen like a wall of water, so probably the more immediate threat is the Nothics. So we don't want to fall, but yeah, no, that makes sense though.
And just to clarify, Don, you do understand, like, Fenn's experience of this was you brought about a wall of water, right? Like, this is you role playing that you don't understand it. I didn't hear a response from you there, Don. Did you understand, like, this is your ability to summon a wall of water, or you watched yourself create it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get all that. I'm not role playing. I honestly don't remember how it's my ability.
All right, so I don't remember exactly how I described the actual vision the first time, but if we potentially bring you back to where you had this vision, there's kind of a moment where you touched the actual blue world. And when you did that, part of what you would have seen is kind of like this moment where you focused your kind of thought forward and were able to create an actual, like, burgeoning rush of water that, like, rose up into the sky. On some level, you were watching yourself for the first time manipulating ki in an entirely different way than you've ever done before. It would have been somewhat mysterious because you're still kind of in the midst of a hallucination, in the same way that you kind of saw, like, from a planetary kind of view, these different planets around you. And that's what kind of took you into a, like, more naturally physical view where you saw the actual Nothics rushing into the tower. But your initial hallucination was almost like becoming bigger than reality as you kind of, like, grew to the size of a planet and kind of created what was kind of like a massive tidal wave that just kind of, like, stood, and it just rose up. So it wasn't necessarily meant to be something that you should be afraid of. Two different things here. One of these things you created. Does that change you wanting to, like, flee up the stairs?
Uh, Not really, because I think uh, so. We get up there, and I guess it feels like kind of an itch that needs to be scratched, but I'm not sure exactly. I would sit there and try to um, focus on that and try to make it happen. So I could see what was the effects of it from a bird's eye view. Thinking, maybe I can wash away the Nothics that are swarming the tower.
Like, do you think you would be doing this from, like, the high point of the tower, trying to, like, look down?
I guess realistically, it would be the first spot where I could get a good view of what was going on. I mean, we're pretty high up in the tower, anyways.
Gotcha. But do you think you're looking from, like, the pinnacle of where the stairs led you? Like, if you walked all the way to the stairs and you're now standing above the ruins of the tower, and you go to look down at the ground outside of the tower, is that kind of what you're doing right here while you're starting to use this magic?
Yeah, looking down towards the base.
Gotcha. Roll a perception here for me. Put it at disadvantage, but let me see a perception from you. So as you kind of look down, roll a d3 for me. and you see like the outside of the tower, and you're looking down near the actual stairs, the entry to this tower. You're seeing Nothic starting to like move towards and into the actual tower. And as you focus your attention and watch and see and feel the water, there's just a rise. And you start to see as what begins as like a single font at your focal point starts to rise up, and much of the tower that you can see around you. Oh, my bad. What are you thinking? Oh, maybe your mic's just open. Much of what you see around you at the base of the tower starts to erupt with water. And you start to see as this foot or two thick pillar of water starts to surround the outer edge of the tower. And there's just a point where some of these creatures outside of the tower are just blocked off by it. And they just kind of stop. And you can see they're like squat, very low standing, almost walking like a bear or a dog on hind legs, kind of like races, and doesn't carry its torso completely balanced or upright. I don't know why I didn't think of chimpanzees or apes, actual creatures that do this. Closer to them, where they don't quite carry their backs in the same way as humans do. And you just see as these four single eye stalked creatures are just kind of like looking and held off as the water rushes in. But you start to see as you seal off the tower in this pillar of water that, for all you can see, surrounds the tower entirely. And you all hear more pitter patter of feet as they are still rushing towards you. Some have already gotten into the tower, but others are stuck outside.
Braddock's gonna like look towards Fen, kind of a bit amazed at this sudden kind of what's happening here, but um,
Roll an Arcana, Brennick. It's enough to dawn on you that those planets down there all have some power that they will bestow on you. And you all have now cut yourselves off from them.
Yeah, well, so yeah, kind of seeing a couple of the Nothics cut off, he's going to like defend, like keep it up as long as he can, and then he's going to basically turn and like get prepared for the Nothics that have gotten inside and are still heading up.
How is everybody preparing for these footsteps following you apparently up the tower?
I think Galeria's bracing herself for any eventual attack that may come, just in case. So it's kind of like just bracing. She's just bracing for an attack that may come.
So just to get a sense of like, so we've gone now up onto like kind of where there are like freestanding stairs. How far down is it to like where the walls are like ended? Like how much?
I would say little more than say like 5 or 6 feet extend out beyond like the actual tower. And you're probably say like 10 to 15 feet from the floor below. So there's probably like 5 feet or so, and then the next level is missing from this tower. But you are essentially between the third and the fourth story of the tower, about 55 or so feet. No, it's like 25 feet per story. So say about like 75, so 85 or so feet above the ground.
Gotcha. And I guess it's so now if we're kind of turned back looking down, we got Fen in the rear, Brannick, Galeria, and then the Galvin Majin.
The Galvin
Right.
flies, though, if you wanted to clear it out so it's not in front of Galeria, the Galvin can float in the center of the tower.
Okay. Yeah, I would. Yeah, then Brannick would send it to do that. Maybe send it to. Yeah, like just I guess off the side. To get a clear path back down the stairs.
And how does Galeria prepare for this? What are you actually doing? Are you simply drawing your weapon? Are you actually casting a spell? What is your preparation?
She does have a weapon drawn. With both hands, kind of like at the ready. It's not. It's so since she has it drawn now, she has the blade pretty much pointed out towards any enemy that may come near, and that's how she's pretty much readying up for any attack that may come.
Gotcha. Maybe like shield in one hand, your sword. Oh wait, you've got what, the hammer out?
Yeah.
Hammer out, almost like high guard, like lifted over your head, ready to smash down on something, but no spell preparation. Is Fen confident in being at the back of the group, or are you moving through everybody towards the front?
Would it be possible for me to jump from my position down to the stairway leading down?
Roll in acrobatics. Yeah, I'd say you could easily kind of like leaping away from the stairs and kind of like running across the actual wall, kind of losing like a little bit of height as you run across it, but pretty alacritous as you kind of like almost run up and around like the third floor ceiling and then can kind of like drop down in a moment right in front of Galeria. And as you do this, you see the first of these little eye stalks kind of coming around the actual like stairwell from the next level. And with this, we will go to initiative. If you all could roll an initiative here. Alrighty, so first to act here, Galeria. You see these creatures ahead of you as they start to move up these stairs. What is your first thought as they come into view?
Um, I would say coming to view, she immediately just goes ahead and swings a hammer down on the first one she sees at full force.
Alright, they are in view. They're still like 30, 40 feet away from you. They are not up on the stairs with you guys. They're on the third story, basically coming up the stairs from the second story.
Okay. My bad, I misunderstood that. Alright, let's see.
You guys are almost like looking down at them from above on the stairs, kind of in like the open air of the third floor between the stairs and what is kind of like the opening into the floor where the stairs go down towards the second floor. So they're a good distance away from you still, but do you have any thoughts when you have this first view?
Okay, yeah, she's like freaking eye stalks. That's her thoughts. She's like, this is what we was probably about to turn into, and now they're chasing us.
You're just kind of holding, you don't have a response?
And I'm just gonna hold it right now until I can actually uh get until one gets close enough for me to actually swing the hammer down on.
All right, so you can hold your action for one to come into combat and you'll attack it.
Yes.
Excellent. And that will take us to Brennick. Probably don't have the clearest sight. You're kind of at the point where maybe it's a little bit of a struggle, but there should be no problem for you basically to like slide down the stairs, do something, and move backwards if you would like to.
Yeah, so Braddock's going to he's going to kind of like sidle past Galeria. He's going to be saying like don't let too many of them get up here, and he's going to kind of shoot off a firebolt at the one in the lead, down like at the that he can see, before then trying to kind of get back behind Galeria.
Yeah, with that first attack, it's not really anything for this thing to kind of dodge out of the way of your attack, and it just kind of like slips backwards. And then in a moment, as the firebolt kind of blasts into the wall of this tower and kind of is dissipated into the stonework, you see the like light green glow of this eye kind of blink back into the darkness, and it starts to move forward towards you again. Ben, what would you like to do? So, insanely quickly drawn, hastily drawn sketch. This is kind of what you guys have done, like climbing up these different levels, kind of with a spiral on the outside of the tower. You've basically made it towards this top level, and I feel like I probably left the top level a little bit shorter than it could have been, but this is more or less what you're looking at here.
Okay, so Fen is, since he's in the lead, and you said still about 30 yards from the first Nothet.
Yeah, zero reason that you couldn't close the ground with them, but theoretically, you guys have been letting them close the ground to you.
Okay, so I think what I'm going to... Can I see further than that? Or is that the limit of my sight down to 30? My point being, I want to shoot off one of these fireballs from the necklace of fireball.
Yeah, I think you could do so and be relatively confident that you're going to hit them. But I would say you don't really have a view beyond just that one of them at least is there. But the foot beats that you've heard probably tell you that there's more than one. I just don't think you could see it.
Right. So, with my minimal knowledge of knowing how these things work, is there could I run down, shoot it off, and then run out again? Try to place it?
What's your movement? It's 45 now?
60. It's
60? I
60.
don't think there's any reason you couldn't do that.
Okay, so I'm gonna rush forth. I'm gonna stay without not within melee range. Obviously, come down close enough till I can get a good view, and then kick off one of the necklace of fireballs, and then run back.
So imagine, I know this is again super hastily drawn, but imagine one side is up from the second story, another side is up from the third story. You guys are vaguely kind of here, and everybody else is looking across the tower like that. Ben would just be kind of from this position. There's no reason that you couldn't close the ground and get a good sight. When you do kind of come towards the top of the stair, you can see that there are four already kind of moving up that stairway. I'd say roll a perception check at disadvantage again for me. Yeah, I think that's kind of what you can pick up at this point, is that there's four of them in that area. And as you're going to sling one of the beads.
Correct.
Gotcha. So roll 8d6. And does it say the DC on the necklace? Is the DC like 13, 14? Does it use yours? I feel like it's going to be on the necklace.
I'm looking at it right now. Dex 15.
Alrighty. So, it did 34. All right, so as you release the fireball kind of in the center of them moving up these stairs, kind of just above their heads as it kind of gets out of view of you, and already are on your way moving back towards the other, you see is this font of light, very familiar to what you had seen Velixis as well as Brannick on multiple occasions create, this point of light kind of opens up as you throw the bead, and it just flies through the air, kind of gets to this point, and fire starts to spark out of it, and just in a wave blasts across this staircase. And you'll see signs of all of them getting blasted and hit. Some of the creatures more adept at others at kind of avoiding like the full force of the actual blast. But you are able to kind of move away, keeping yourself out of the actual danger itself. Anything else other than kind of, are you moving back to the same position? Are you going to move back somewhere else? Assuming it took you 30 feet to move there and you have 30 feet remaining, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I'm going to move back and free action pull out my sword.
I got you that. If you were thinking about fireballing there in the future, let me know that you're pulling out the actual beads ahead of time. But technically, it takes some effort to actually pull those out as well. But I don't think there's any difference between you having the sword out and not.
Well, I could do
considering
free
that.
action at the beginning of next round. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's why I think in the long run, I don't think it matters. But like, if you were planning on using the beads ahead of time, let me know that ahead of time because that
Gotcha.
cuts that out. But yeah, as you guys kind of close out, Fenn's kind of moving back towards you all, and we're going to see who's getting double, and then there's something's potentially special, both on the same person. And that's going to be, I don't have you guys listed in order there, so Brennick. Brennick, you are the winner of the prize that you don't want to get. You're going to see as these creatures kind of like move up and into the room, and all of you start to feel this. Oh wait, no, there's a fourth creature in the room. My bad. Yeah, the double up doesn't matter because the Galvin will get hit by one of them. But Brennick, you still win the special prize if you don't know what it means. But all of you will kind of like feel this moment where your head starts to like cloud and you can feel something starting to move inside of your brain. And this is one of those moments where you feel magic trying to not take you over, but trying to kind of assault your psyche. And this is where I need a constitution saving throw from everyone. The Galvin can have advantage on this, so if you roll 2d20 for that for me, Brennick.
I'd like to use some inspiration just in case.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing for Braddock. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use 5 inspiration.
Gotcha. Fen, what do you think is a success?
I'm gonna go 10.
See, just to like let you guys know that's one of those reasons. Like, if you had done it like that and just had the advantage style, I feel like the 17 is one of those things where you're definitely confident. Wouldn't have worked as well for Brennick, but it's definitely one of those things where the advantage style, it's like 5th edition to a T. So let's see. I've got Fen down to 8 inspiration. Brennick, you'll be down to 11. Brennick, you are going to take. Actually, confirm if they're all the same. Brennick's is one higher. So Brennick, yours is going to do 16 points of psychic damage to you. And then I'm just going to roll 1 for all 3 of the other ones. Fen passed it, Galeria failed it, and the Magian passed it. So 6 damage to Fen and the Magian, and Galeria, you will take 12 psychic damage.
Oh, Brannick failed.
Oh wait, you said you burned 5? My bad. No, you would take 8 there. My apologies.
Okay, I wasn't sure if maybe like the booby prize was like 86 and it was already down to 4. So
Oh, it's actually necrotic damage. It's not psychic. It's like quite literally melting your brains. But yeah, they're kind of just like filling up the actual room. None of them are actually coming close to you all, but you just kind of like feel these sensations of just this like clouding of your brain, and everything about thinking becomes difficult to manage. Fen, I do need you to make your first Constitution save to maintain concentration that you will probably ever do, potentially. And you are able to maintain concentration on your wall of water. And I don't think anybody else is concentrating, so we will go back around to Galeria. Got 4 of these creatures on the floor just below you all. If you wanted to move down and into combat with them, you could easily like just hop over the actual edge of the stairs. It's about 10 feet. It is a ways to fall, but it is up to you what you would like to do. You could also easily close the ground by moving down the stairs.
Who's up? Because the turn order is blank now.
Oh, my
Galeria.
bad. Galeria.
I'm gonna jump down there with them, and what I'm also going to do is I am going to use Mass Healing Ward right here by us.
Gotcha. Even though it's a bonus action, if you cast a spell, you're not going to be able to cast anything but a cantrip, or you could swing your weapon. Is that what you're thinking, though?
Yes.
Gotcha. So you'll take 1 bludgeoning damage as you leap, and as you land. You can cast Mass Healing Word to heal the. Do you think to heal the Magian that is traveling with you, or are you just healing the 3 of you?
I'm healing the midget that's with us as well. I believe. Yes, it's up to 6 creatures of your choice. So I'm healing everyone.
Gotcha. So I think that'll probably cover everybody. Um, but you can roll those healing to see if it was enough. I think you took the most, so if it heals 13 or more, you guys should be all back. Oh, wait a second. Think about this for a second here. Theoretically, you guys still have the Blessing of Lathander, where you guys are starting with temporary hit points. You cannot heal temporary hit points. I'm not entirely sure if you guys are really missing hit points right now. Do you have that in mind as you're kind of casting this? At very least, Fen and Brennick have not actually lost any hit points.
No, we must have had an encounter last week because I was not at full hit points.
Yeah, we fought the
Oh.
formation in the base of the tower. when we first
My
got
bad.
in.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You guys definitely could use that. So let's roll and see those hit points that you heal. And then what are you doing? You're just going for the closest of these creatures to swing your hammer at?
Yeah.
Showed up on my bot for 6, but not on me yet.
So I think yes. I think everybody gets 6 health back. Is that what that is?
Yep. Mass healing word will get everybody that 6. That should put the Magian back at full, I believe. And then all of you have your own accounts. But when you are ready, swing out with your mace at your closest.
Something's wrong with that, Rashad. The input's wrong. It's looking all kinds of weird.
What do you mean?
It's 2d4 plus 3. Is that what it is?
Yeah, healing word is definitely far more about getting people up who are down than it is about healing.
All right, my bad. Sorry. Never mind.
The big
Yeah.
benefit of it is that it has a range versus actually having to touch somebody. So when you are ready, Rashad, excellent. So rushing out to swing your mace. Solid hit there. You said you carry a shield, so you are doing 3 damage as you smash into it. And that will leave the creature mortally wounded.
And that'll be it for her.
And Brennick, what would you like to do?
So Braddock was thinking Ben had the right idea as he kind of saw the massive conflagration. Is Brennick able to see past now where Galeria has leapt down, like into the opening to try to shoot it past her?
You're trying to fireball?
Yes.
Roll a. Roll just a die. Odd, you can get all 4 Nothics. Odd is what you want, to where Galeria wouldn't be in the miss. So yeah, I would say you can get 3 Nothics without getting Galeria in there, or you can hit all 5 of them.
I'm going to avoid Galeria, so I will kind of take the slightly less optimal. Yeah, I'll fire it off with the aim of trying to make sure that she's not hit. So.
So as the font kind of starts to form, you see the recognition in like all of these eyes as they all kind of like almost like dive for cover and seem to shield themselves before the explosion comes. It definitely still blasts out and will injure many of them. But at this point, they were kind of prepared for that one like they hadn't been before.
Gotcha. And then he would, if he kind of had to move to get a bit of an angle, he would try to move back to his position kind of behind Galeria on the stairs.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem at all. And it will take us back to Finn. You probably have like 2 of these creatures closer to you than the one like that Galeria is engaged with. But you could probably either, I mean, you can definitely leap over the stairs and get to where Galeria is and be somewhat cut off. Oh, wait, you also have the Galvin with you. Do you want to make an attack with it? I think it has, what is it? I think it's got a lightning attack that's a ranged attack. Oh, it's Shocking Grasp.
Oh,
Static Discharge is probably its ranged attack.
Okay. Yeah, I would have had it, I guess, kind of float down and go after the one, like the first one, like at the top of the line, I guess, or whatever.
One closest to the stairs, you're thinking?
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. And what, you're doing the Shocking Grasp?
Yeah.
It's got 2, so do one more. +6 with that. 11 is going to be a miss on the first one. And the second one, same thing, where these things are quite dexterous, and you can see, like, it's not necessarily like moving at slow speed, but you have a certain sense, the way you've encountered these creatures. The Nothics are not unfamiliar with how the Magein work, and that's kind of shining a little bit as you watch this thing attacking, and it seems to fail, at least at present here. But other than that, it will go to you, Finn.
Okay, because I see the Galvin now in the notes compendium, but I don't have an actual like sheet for it.
Oh, I thought I sent you one. I wonder if I posted it in Discord versus sent to you. I feel like that's one of the problems is your private message or our private messages can fill up pretty quick.
While you're looking for that, Fenn's gonna go down to the two that are closest to him, and he's gonna do sword attack and an unarmed strike on one, and then flurry of blows on the other.
Gotcha. So theoretically, the two that you are going to approach here, one of them is bloodied, and one of them, yeah, actually, both of them are bloodied. So the way you align these attacks, think about it like, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty solid way to say you'll probably kill both of these in those 2 and 2. Yeah, first one will hit. Yeah, I definitely feel like those first 2 attacks are enough to kill it. And the second one, yeah, so same thing. You'll like cut down the first one as you slash through with your longsword, and with that second attack, you kind of like have like the exposed portion of its rib cage, and with a punch, you just like shatter through its rib cage, just to like gouts of blood. And with a little bit of understanding of its anatomy, oh wait, that second one's gonna miss. My bad. As you kind of spin around to the next creature, you kind of punch towards it, and it is just outside of your reach as your fist kind of comes to its full extension. And your next blow, being prepared for it to dodge you, you sink deep into its flesh. And while you are going to punch it and leave it severely wounded, the second of these will actually survive in a mortally wounded state. For your sake, and you have a pretty solid understanding. These things have 15 AC.
Then I'll activate Agile Parry and end a turn.
So this time, Brennick is not going to get attacked, and who gets the special one? That will become. Should have rolled the D3. 5 is 2 would be the Galvin. So let me get a round of Constitution saves. Wait a second here. Yeah, no Constitution on this one. They're all gonna claw out at you. So I guess actually the Galvin is still flying. It will do a Constitution save, because that one is at range right now. So one of them trying to slash out at Fen. Should hit with a 22, 21.
23 with Agile
No,
Parry.
my bad. It's a 19 anyways. With the 19, and then one trying to swing out at Galeria. Big ol' miss. And then the Galvin saves as the same kind of rot starts to sink into its flesh. Holy shit, it's going to take 10 damage as its brain starts to melt. And then it's going to go back to the top of the order with Galeria. You there, Galeria? You there, Rashad?
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm reading this correct. I was gonna, my Gloria wanted to do Spirit Guardians, but it says when they enter the area for the first time, so if they're already within the area, it's not gonna have an effect on them, correct?
Doesn't it also say or start their turn inside
Yeah.
the area?
It won't affect them immediately, but at the start of their turn, I think.
Oh, it sure does. It sure does. Okay, thank you.
I just want you to know the reason why I asked you, are you doing anything, Rashad, before the creatures came, was trying to tell you, cast Spirit Guardians now.
Yeah.
That spell is one of the most overpowered spells in this game, because you just move around the board and shit dies.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was about to do. Is, cast Spirit Guardians.
Gotcha. I think that's going to leave you without much to do with your bonus action. I don't think I'm wrong there, but is that all you're doing on your turn here?
Yeah, because yeah, that's it. Because that takes an action. I don't think I can do that bonus action. No, that'll be it. I'm just gonna go and summon the creatures.
Brennick, on to you, sir.
All right. Yeah, Brannick. So how many can he see?
It's 3 right now.
Right.
2 of them are mortally wounded, and probably the other one is kind of standing between like Fen and Galeria.
Yeah, so I think he is going to cast Magic Missile. Do it at
So right now you're starting to see the spirits coming up and around Galeria. Theoretically, Galeria, can you describe what your spirits are?
They are like little foxes with angelic wings. It's like 3 little foxes with angelic wings.
You are a god of war and you have foxes with wings?
Yeah. I mean, foxes are deadly.
All right.
That rabbit's a killer.
Maybe I'm not going to tell Brennick to do anything here. You see semi-harmless beasts that might nibble on your ankles starting to fly around the room.
yes, I think I'm going to cast. I'm just going to do a first level Magic Missile. I'm going to shoot 2 of the darts at the one. I guess. Basically, want to shoot one of the mortally wounded and 1 at the other. I'm not sure how to differentiate between those 2. But maybe 2 at the closest and 1 at the one behind it. That makes sense.
Gotcha. So just roll the first one and then the second 2.
Yeah, so I was going to do 2 into the first one and the last one into the second one.
Yeah, I got you, but it's just how I have the hit points rolled down. I
Sure.
do the single one first. Because of course you guys couldn't just fight on the fucking map where you were supposed to fight them. You had to run to a map that doesn't exist. Because that's how players work. So you guys are Doing that, you've got the Galvin. Both of those creatures are going to survive the darts. Of course, they hit. Of course, they leave wounds behind as they kind of like fly into the flesh. These things are incredibly wounded, but there is still 3 of them standing.
Yeah, so can Brannick also send the Galvin, essentially try to yeah, he'll try to shock the nearest one.
All right, so every time you guys say nearest, I am rolling for a random one of these, versus you guys know 2 of them are mortally wounded and one of them is not being described as mortally wounded. Is that satisfactory?
Yeah, I mean Brannick wants to keep the thing kind of close to him, so he just have it
Gotcha.
kind of.
It has a +6, so the highest of those is a 16, right?
Yes. Yep.
So the second, I believe, is successful. Yeah, the second one will hit the 10. And what is its damage with that? It's 2d6 or 3d6?
It looks like 1d6
plus
plus
4.
4.
Gotcha, lightning.
And these things aren't wearing armor, right? I'm assuming, right?
No, these are fleshy creatures. They're effectively naked for all it's worth here. Gotcha. So I believe that one was technically near Fen there that the Galvin can kind of move down towards and fry it. And the body just kind of like superheats as this lightning starts to fly through it. And as it kind of just like sinks down to the ground as its muscles give way, you see like the last few kind of like twitches of it. And it's just like a steaming pile of like body that just kind of fell down to the ground. And then coming up here, there are going to be more that clear the steps and kind of make their way into this room. At this point, you're going to have 2 of them on 2 of you, which will be. Oops. Galeria and the Galvin will each have 2. And then alrighty. So on this one, let me have a Constitution saving throw from I think all 3 of your main characters, and then 2 from the Galvin, please.
For those creatures that enter the space and then we do a roll, the spirit guardian damage for them now or wait.
Oh yeah. Start of their turn. And what's the radius of that? It's like 15 feet.
Yeah, it's 15 feet.
Yeah, I think for right now you're just getting the two that are already there. So first and the second. And it's 4d8 damage. Can you roll that, please? Oh, you've already got the first one rolled. 18. All right, so the remaining creature that was already in the room is now looking bloodied. That one is kind of standing off semi-isolated. Nobody is in particular in combat with it yet. The rest of the room is starting to fill as 4 more of these creatures come into the room. They are not yet actually within the actual range of your spirit guardians, so you will have to move closer to them. The rooms are about 50 or so feet wide, so you can cover a good percentage of it, but at present you're closer to one wall than another, and that's isolating you from the stairs they're coming from. All of you are passing the save. Oh, wait, did I get a save from Brennick? Yeah, there we go.
Galvin will fail its second one.
Okay, because I told you to roll 2. You got the 17 and the 1. So for the 3 of you, you're all gonna take 8 necrotic damage from those, and then the Galvin is basically gonna take this plus this like halved. So the Galvin will take 18 damage of necrotic from the other 2 assaulting it, and then I think the one that was kind of gonna attack Galeria is the one that died to the Spirit Guardians. And I think that's the end of their turn. So we'll go back to top of the order with Galeria. If I lose you again, we're going to you, Galeria.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm looking at this thing. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead.
Hey, hold up 1 second here. As much as possible, I need you to be planning what you're doing when it is not your turn. Because as a spellcaster, you can't take forever. You have to plan stuff ahead of time.
Right, but I'm gonna
You
go
can
ahead.
update it like as things develop, but you need to be prepared because otherwise I'm going to be speeding you up more and more as a spellcaster.
Right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and close the distance to the one with the ones that have entered the room. Going to use my complete movement to go and get closer to them.
So if you move closer to the one that's already in there, you'll get some of the creatures that have already walked in. If you move closer and beyond that creature to basically put yourself between them and this creature that's been here, everything's going to be inside of your spirit guardians. But you will be the closest target to those 4 creatures. What do you want to do there?
Okay, yeah, that will be actually that'll be fine. So once I get in there,
Oh, I actually would have needed a concentration saving throw from both Fen and Galeria there.
all right.
It's Constitution save. Both golden. My bad.
All right, and that'll be it for me after casting the Shield of Faith.
Wait, you can't cast Shield of Faith.
I cannot.
It's concentration. You're gonna drop Spirit Guardians if you cast Shield of Faith. You
Oh,
are
no.
basically casting a very weak spell or like attacking in combat, but Spirit Guardians is what you are doing right now.
Okay, then no, I'm not gonna cast that. I'm just going to attack the closest one that's to me at this moment. The one that's not the one that's least damaged.
Least damaged?
Not damaged.
Alrighty.
After that, that'll be it for my time.
Yeah, you got to look for concentration stuff. A lot of times it's just a little asterisk with a C. But also it's just a part of the spell. Pay attention to that when you're holding concentration. This will go to Brennick.
Yeah, so Brannick is going to follow after Galeria. So heading back down the stairs, hoping to try to get back into the main room.
Like the foot of the stairs is clear. There's probably a good like 10 or so feet like radius around the foot of the stairs where you've been that are still clear of other creatures, but you're going to be moving closer and closer to them. And Galeria is probably closer to the other stairs than you are, and Fen is probably in between the two of you.
Gotcha. Okay, so he'll move up to basically like, behind Fen then. And I think this time he's just going to cast a if he can see one that looks damaged, he's going to concentrate on that one and just try and firebolt it.
Gotcha. That's the closest one, kind of right between Galeria and Fen.
Yeesh.
And the Galvin?
Oh crap! Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have the Galvin float down, so the 30 feet, and if he can try and get like at least two of the creatures, like if they seem to be in a line, and if he can avoid hitting Galeria, he would. I'm gonna have it do its static discharge. Otherwise, just a couple of shocking grasps at.
You could definitely static discharge and get two or more creatures. Let me get a d6 from you real quick. Gotcha. So you could get two of them in line down the stairs.
Yeah, so I'm gonna order it, and it will have that shoot off. So that is a DC 14.
Gotcha. So same idea. They're very adept at how these creatures work. You see as it starts to actually form the lightning in its hands and prepares to release this electrical charge forward and down the stairs. As they kind of like almost like leap to the floor above them, and they're almost like crawling up rather than actually following these staircases. And it's just enough to almost do like a pull up to get their body out of the way at this last moment. Anything else from you here?
That should do it. Sorry, I keep forgetting about the Galvin.
Is Fen currently engaged with anybody in combat?
You're probably 5 or 10 feet away from the creature that has been up there with you all and is currently bloodied. Probably about 15, 20 feet away from you is the creature that Galeria is fighting. And then the others are kind of like crawling and moving their way up those stairs.
All right, so I'm going to move to the bloodied one and attack with the longsword and unarmed strike. hopefully I will put it down. I'm gonna try to.
Is your plan basically like 2 on that one, and then you're going to move to the one that Galeria is fighting?
Yep.
How many strikes are you going to do on the one that Galeria is fighting?
I'm gonna do flurry of blows, so 2 unarmed strikes.
Gotcha. This is where I want to hold you to that idea. If you don't kill the first creature, you're potentially like stepping away from it, like in the heat of battle here.
Yeah, I'm taking a calculated risk, and I'm gonna drop it.
I think it's definitely a viable risk. So make those first 2 the sword and unarmed strike. You have a solid idea of how hard it is to hit these creatures. This one is slightly stronger and tougher. You guys have started to notice that there are 2 different kind of like levels of these creatures. That some of them are resisting and taking shots much, much more than the others you've dispatched. This is one of them. Do you think that 13 is acceptable then?
Probably not.
So if I
But
told you at one point that there was an AC that you knew and this one is tougher, what do you think you need to hit here?
probably 16.
Do you want to pump 3 inspiration into that?
Yes, please.
That is indeed its AC is 16. So it's that same kind of feeling where you like punch forward and you're like right about to miss the creature. And it's that like 1-inch Bruce Lee punch. And you just kind of, actually, that's your sword strike. Makes it sound a little bit worse. I don't have a really badass cool way to describe the sword strike. But yeah, 16 is what it takes to hit that one. Those strikes are going to be just enough that as you do punch into that one, you are going to kill it. Had you not done that, it would have remained alive. And you can then move those 10 feet to the one that Caleria is in combat with and flurry into it. With those strikes, slightly less important kind of moments at present. The first one is a solid hit for 6 more. The second one is going to come up a little bit short as you kind of pull the punch at like max distance before you connect with the creature. You're going to deal 6 total for this one.
That'll activate Agile Parry and end a turn.
Alrighty, so at this point, you guys can kind of recognize there's again like kind of 2 levels to these creatures that are in here. 2 of them are kind of these slightly more like chitinous armored. You can see like almost more developed sort of alienness to their flesh. 2 of them are still like slightly smoother and almost retaining a little bit of their humanity here. And we're just gonna test real quick. Unacceptable for the same guy. So Galeria and Brennick. Is the Galvin on the ground right now?
I think it would have come down to probably to get the angle on the line, so it's I didn't have it float back up into the air.
So I think these things, they're psychic enough that they actually know at this point. We're gonna go for Galeria and Fen. Let me get Constitution saving throws from the 2 of you. Oh, I also need you to roll the 4d8, Galeria, or your summon things. Can you roll? I can't think of what they're called. Spirit Guardians. So 9. All right, so Galeria, you're going to take, what is that, 8 necrotic. Ben, you're going to take the full 17 necrotic. I need a Constitution saving throw from both of you. Galeria, yours is 10, and Fen, yours is going to be at 10. I've got to do 20 damage for it to matter. And then the other two are actually going to try to slash into Brennick and the Galvin with their claws. So they'll each make 2 attacks at the 2 of you. First one on Brennick, 16 to hit on you these days, 16-23.
Yeah, can I use one of my inspiration to make that one miss?
Oh yeah, 100%. Just 1 point to make a miss.
Yeah, because the AC 16. And then the second one will hit.
And then the 2 from the Galvin. I think the
He's
14
AC
will
14.
hit.
Yeah.
So let's see. I think they do. It's the other one that's really good, actually. 7 slashing to each of you. My bad. The 7 slashing to each of you is Brennick and the Galvin. Galeria, do you? Stupid question. Do you think an 8 is going to pass concentration? Do you want to hold concentration on your spell? Flipping the
Yeah.
dice. Yes, you want to hold concentration?
Yeah, I want to try to hold concentration.
How many inspiration points would you like to burn here?
I'm gonna do 8.
You don't need to do 8, but I will take 5 from you. You needed 2. You needed 10 with most concentration saving throws.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking 5 though because you weren't paying attention, I think.
Yeah, I heard you say roll. I need a 10.
So it's going to go back around to you, though, Galeria. A few of these creatures have taken the room. Right now, 2 of them are actually standing a little bit abreast from everybody towards the actual stairs. 2 of them have actually closed into the room. Basically, at this point, you don't have any on you, but you could easily get to the ones that are attacking Brennick and the Galvin. Like, one's kind of going backwards a little bit towards Brennick, one's kind of just moving forward a little bit, and then 2 are basically at the top of the stairs closer to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna close in on Brennick. With the 2 that are attacking him and the Galva, and I basically stand right in their faces, and I'm gonna cast Word of Radiant.
Roll a d6 for me. On even, you can get both of them. Odds, though, I think you're probably too far away for most cases. Brennick and the Galvin aren't necessarily right next to each other. I think I said on even, you can get both of them. So you can do that, and it is a con save. DC 15. Both will fail that. They'll each take that 7. And anything else from you? Otherwise, it's going to go to Brennick.
No, that'll be it.
So if Brennick was to try to Misty Step 30 feet, would that get him into like the...
Like you could go 30 feet towards the base of the tower and kind of towards like the empty space, like where the staircase going down is like not present because it's like down at the floor below you. So like that's probably the safest place is to like kind of Misty Step towards this area. Right now, most of the action is pretty much happening between the staircases on the north side.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So he's going to do that mostly to get away from the one right in his face, and turn back and at that same one fire a firebolt.
Gotcha. Solid hit for that, and for 5 more.
And the Galvin is going to. I think there was one on him, so I think I'm just going to have it try a couple of. Actually, hold on.
Just double shocking grasp.
Yeah,
I
double
think
shot.
one, you should definitely roll to see if it recharges, because that's how monsters work.
Yeah. That was...
And then just 2d20 for its attacks on the one that's on it.
So one of those should hit.
And it's a d6 plus 4.
Yep. So 9 total damage.
That one's theoretically, I think that's the bloodied state. Yeah, that's pretty much in the bloodied state for that one. And it's gonna go to Fen. Kind of the 2 that have sort of moved past you all are now kind of behind you. The 2 that are like this like new evolution that you guys have not seen are the 2 that are like closer to the stairs to you.
Are we on the second or the third level?
3rd.
All right, then I'm going to. Is there any way that I can make a beeline for the second level without
For you, like if you ran to the stairs and you leapt over the like banister, you could float down. Is that what you mean? You're trying to get to the second level?
Yes.
Oh yeah, 100% you could do that.
Okay,
Your goal?
My goal is to dash to get to the first level. I don't know, like, because we're going theater.
I think with 60 movement, you could probably leap over the edge. I don't think your like feather fall like takes activation or would end when you land. I'm pretty sure you just always do that. So I feel like you could like basically leap over the edge with like maybe 5 or so feet of movement. Cross the second level, leaping over the edge, and basically be landing on the first level with like, 5 movement remaining. Now, running up the stairs is going to take more distance because you're running around the circumference instead of just across the diameter.
Right.
But if your goal was to get to the first level and to touch another one of the planets, I think you could make it there in this first round and be back on the lowest level. Which I think puts you close enough that you could maybe touch the moon. I think it would be a lot to say that you could get to the sun, but those are the 2 you would be closest to.
Okay.
Is that your kind of plan? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was the sun, and then I guess Toro was going to be my second thought, depending on. I wasn't sure if the sun was an actual. I thought you said that one was kind of crumbled.
Yeah, a few of them are crumbled. Saloon is crumbled. It's the moon. That's the one that I meant to say that was the other you were likely to get to, because theoretically, like the actual staircase that you're leaping over, I guess really how this one's designed. I'd say you could land on the close enough to the sun that you could touch that this turn.
Okay,
Because you're kind of
that's what I'm
jumping
going
down from
for.
the free space. I was kind of describing it before as if you're going to land like somewhere in that area. But I think, yeah, inside of the sun would be acceptable. So if you rush down, leap over the edge, and when you touch the sun, you are once again going to have a vision of this time yourself reaching out, and as you extend your hand in this hallucination, you become large, like this actual like sun in front of you, and there's a explosive force that just starts to grow out of it, encompassing things in flame. Before your vision kind of comes back, you're back in your body. You've cast this before, but you can cast another fireball.
Okay, that'll end my turn.
So at this point, let's see.
And I take it, since you didn't mention it, that I did not come across any more Nothics.
No, at present, right now, your wall of water is holding the rest of the Nothics outside of the actual building. Sadly, when you rolled to see which round of Nothics that you would be casting it at, you cast it at the third wave. So you guys got the first two waves. You have a solid idea that at some point, when your wall of water fails, you're going to have another wave of these coming in.
Understood.
Alrighty. So the creature that is, I believe this one is actually right next to Galeria and the Galvin right now, actually starts to like follow the mind of Fen, and you see as its kind of like long trunk like neck kind of turns as his mind starts to leave, and it is going to break away from combat, and both Galeria and the Galvin can make an attack of opportunity at it. Assuming that it survives, I also need you to roll 4d8 for your Spirit Guardians for me, Galeria. The Galvin, does that have a +6 to hit?
Yes, sorry, yeah. So it should be a 17.
So 4, 6, and then 8 more. I think that one's just going to kind of fall dead as these nasty, pointy, bitey rabbits start to nibble at its ankles. And it starts to crawl down the stairs before going limp with no ankles remaining. And then Alrighty. So on this go about, I think we're gonna do the mortally wounded of these with kind of the smoother flesh is going to cross the room to Brennick and is going to swing out for you. Both are gonna smash into you there with a crit and a 21, and they will do a total of what are they, +2, +3. So 6, 9, and 8, so a total of 17. And then one of them is going to do an attack on Galeria with a con save, please. And then the other one is going to rush up and try to assault the Galvin again. Damn. 15 hit the Galvin? You don't think a 10 would, but the 15 does. It's unfortunate. It's going to smash into the Galvin with 1d6, so 5 slashing, and then 1 psychic damage as it hits it. And then Galeria saves, so you're going to take half of 18, 9 more damage, and another con 10 to maintain your concentration before it comes back around to Galeria. Gotcha. Actually, you know what? 2 of these creatures at that point are going to actually step out and away from this, leaving you all basically with one of these mortally wounded, slightly smoother normal creatures on Brennick. The other 2 are going to slip down the stairway, and you are going to lose sight of them as they drop down the stairway and out of view. So, what would you like to do there, Galeria?
I was gonna say, so it's just the one. You said it's just the one left up there, and the other 2 slip down.
Yep, at this point, one of them crossed the room down towards the south to where Brennick is, just kind of at the edge of the staircase down. The other 2 ran down the staircase, and you would have lost them.
Okay, so I'm gonna head over to where the one by Brennick is, and I'm just gonna do an attack with my Warhammer into it.
Excellent. 1 solid strike should be able to lay it low. You want to use your divine channel divinity?
Yeah, I'm gonna use. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna use the channel divinity.
Gotcha. So you can kind of flash the light of can't remember what god you picked. But as it kind of like inspires your warhammer, you can bring it down on this creature's skull and smash into it. And it will kind of crumble before Brennick. What would you like to do? Well, I guess you could potentially move and start to cover down the stairs. You've probably moved, say, like 15 feet. You could again like leap over the banister and take like a little bit of falling damage, or you could basically run to the actual like top of the stairs and be ready at the top to run down for next turn.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna head over to the stairs and wait at the top of the stairs.
Gotcha. And then it will go to Brennick. What would you like to do, sir?
Yeah, so Brannick is going to. All right, can you guys still hear me?
We can indeed. Now I wonder if you could hear us, confirming that we could hear you. I could hear you
Okay,
press
can
your
you
key
guys
there.
hear me?
We could hear you before, but I'm worried you can't hear us.
Yeah,
You like cut out.
yeah. Can you guys hear me?
I hear you, Justin. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Excellent. We could hear you the whole time, but it was pretty clear you couldn't hear us.
Now I can't.
You can't hear us?
Okay, yeah, something's going on with my headphones here.
Let's take a break here. Give him some time to figure that out. I think I'm going to go make some coffee.
All right.
Works for me.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, Justin. You hear me?
Okay, trying again.
I can hear you.
Okay, and I heard that. But now I can't hear anything again.
How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I can hear you.
Okay, anybody hear me?
We can indeed. Can you hear us?
Brandon, can you hear us?
Yeah, I tried resetting it. It's something like if I'm holding down the push to talk, it cuts out.
I heard all that. Can you hear me?
Okay, I heard that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's weird. Like,
I did not yet successfully make coffee, but I'm going to step back away since he's doing the restart. And I'm back. Can you hear us?
yeah, I heard that.
Papa, can you hear me?
It's like when I
Lost after when I, so that makes me think it did it again. As you said, your push to talk causes it.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Basically, so Brannick wants to kind of run now that as the one in front of him falls, he wants to run, essentially grab Galeria, say we need to get to Fen. He's gonna tell the Galvin to follow as you can, and kind of keep visualizing the bottom where he thinks Fen got off to, like the first the level of the tower. He wants to cast Dimension Door and bring himself and Galeria down to join Fen.
Roll an intelligence and roll an arcana for me. Bastard. Yeah. I guess if you would like, you can teleport inside of Fen, but otherwise you can place yourself anywhere you would like on the lower level.
Yeah, probably not right into Fen. I was thinking like middle of the room.
I mean, middle of the room doesn't seem nearly as entertaining as inside of Fen, but alright.
Well, I think if I did that, it would just fail to go off, and I'd just.
Or we might end up with a hybrid build of 4 different classes.
If you would arrive in a place already occupied by an object or creature, you and any creature traveling with you each take force damage, and the spell fails to teleport you. I guess I could have also done it like take me so I'm however many feet down. But it says if I can like visualize the space, that's kind of what I was going for.
That's what I was arcana. It was simply if you could remember the space well enough to do it. And then specifically I did arcana because theoretically it's just as much your ability to use the magic as it is to remember the space.
Gotcha. Okay.
You had little risk in doing it so soon.
Right. Yeah, sorry about I don't know what was going on with the headphones, but hopefully it does not repeat. That's going to be it for Brennick. The Galvin is just going to follow his instructions and essentially try to get as far as it can down. I guess it can kind of fly, so it would essentially try to fly down 60 feet if it take the dash action.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it couldn't cover the same ground as Fen, pretty much making it all the way back down here. Counter, I think that's its counter right next to the sun as is anyways. If you can move it, that definitely is it. So end of Brennick's turn will take us to Fen in kind of making your dash down here to the planets. You're going to see as that was Dimension Door.
Yes.
Yeah, so you see almost as like Brennick like unzips reality and just kind of like steps through. You actually have like a quick, I believe, view actually through to where he comes from before he kind of steps through with Galeria. Ooh, is she a size bigger than you? No, she's medium, but counts for carrying capacity as they kind of walk through. But what would Fen like to do?
Fen is going to yell out to the party, someone touch the moon and twirl, and then head up and fireball the first thing he sees.
Gotcha. So you touch the sun, call out to the others, and you can head up to the second flight. Make a perception check for me. So as you look around, there's a few different points where you don't quite see anything, but there's kind of like wisps of these creatures. For what it is worth, as far as being able to passively do something and then spot the creatures, their stealth is higher than your passive perception. It takes time for you to notice that these creatures are basically hidden in plain sight within this room. So that's going to take your action. You can stay up there if you would like, or you can retreat to the others. But basically, I'm taking your action for that actual perception for you to recognize that these things are stealthed, essentially inside of that room, kind of wisps of reality.
Then I'm going to retreat back to the first floor with those guys.
Gotcha. You didn't necessarily take like your full kind of like ability to speak to the others in that moment, but I would say you can't also necessarily say like a full sentence to them. But do you have any thoughts on how to kind of convey sort of like the fear of kind of like an assassin type thing in like a word or two?
They've disappeared.
Is anybody currently bloodied in your party?
Oh yes, Brannick is. I think technically the Galvin is as well.
What were you saying with Galeria?
I would say she is. She definitely has less than, I want to say less than
Basically, are
40.
you at 50% or less?
Oh yeah, I am.
All right. And then mortally wounded or fatally wounded is 10 hit points or less. Those are the two things that you guys can see without doing any sort of checks about health. But then you're otherwise like above that 50% mark.
Yeah, by like 2 hit points.
It's kind of tough because these things can read minds. But I'm going to say that they're going to ignore you as a target here.
I mean, I'm by no
Galeria
means
has
pristine.
Galeria has the creatures around. Kind of protects the two, all three of those. Yeah, I think this time I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna move into Galeria's wispy guys. So roll your 4d8 for me. Oh shit, do those make things visible? I hope they don't. I don't think they do.
Hold on, let me. I can actually hold on. I can send it over to you.
Just roll the damage first. I'm looking up the spell. Yeah, they do not. So yeah, they're each going to kind of move past and essentially, oh shit, we're actually on a map. I can show the creatures. Essentially, and this is the negative of them using a single initiative turn is I'm going to let them attack at the same time. Essentially, in unison, they are going to both stab out at both Galeria and at Brennick. And we are going to go for 2 attacks at advantage. The first one at Brennick will hit with a 24. Second one at Brennick with a 16. Does that hit you? I think that's a no.
16 hits, but I'm going to use another inspiration to make the second one.
Gotcha. And then first one at Galeria, 14 misses, and a 19, I believe, hits you, Galeria.
It misses with the shield. The shield gave me +2 for my AC, so my AC is currently at 20.
And Brennick, it is going to deal 20 slashing damage to you, and then 1 psychic damage. It kind of just like shows up, makes its attack.
And that will take Brannick down.
Drop Brannick down. And then each of these creatures is going to step away. And again, you can make opportunity attacks if you would like with Galeria and the Galvin.
Yeah, the Galvin will try.
So solid hit there. Galeria, are you attacking the same one that... I guess it doesn't matter. You're going to miss anyways. For 7 more. And then as they step away, you're going to basically see as they kind of step behind something, and you're not going to see them again. Oh, wait, no, I can't do that. Use all their movement. Yeah, they had a bonus action dash. They never stepped away from you. My bad, psych out. It's going to go up to Galeria. Did you roll the 4d8 before Galeria for your Spirit Guardians? 19.
Yeah. So I'm using that name escapes me. Mass, sorry. There it is. Yeah, mass. I'm using mass healing ward.
Excellent. Cast it, roll the heals. And then if you'd like, you still have your action if you'd like to swing your hammer at one of your foes. So, Brennick, you can take 7 hit points. Everybody else can gain 7 as well, but Brennick, you will be conscious. And as you swing out at one of these creatures, it's just able to kind of move out of the way. You feel the slightest bit of resistance from your hammer as it slides across the scales. Brennick, from on the floor, what would you like to do?
Yeah, so Brannick first thing will stand up. Seeing these things right in front of him, they're pretty quick. But they're also pretty deadly. So he is going to try.
What do you have right now? 1 level in Rogue?
Yeah, so I don't have cunning action. But he is going to cast Synaptic Static. And I think he can catch both of them without hitting Galeria if he kind of aims it. The focal point kind of in the corner over here. It's a 20-foot radius.
Oh, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. You are set to Whisper, which is understandable.
Oops, sorry. Yeah.
I don't know what level spell that is, but I'm assuming that's leveled. What does it do when they fail? 1 passes, 1 fails.
Okay, so that's a 5th level spell. fails takes full damage, and has muddled thoughts for 1 minute. So on its turn, it subtracts 1d6 from attack rolls and ability checks.
Gotcha.
The other just takes half damage and no muddled thoughts. And the one that failed can do another saving throw, intelligence, at the end of each of its turns to negate the effect.
And I believe that should take us then to Fen. Then the Galvin. See if it's got its static charge back.
Oh yeah, so that was that 6 I rolled before because I forgot to do it on the other turn when it was moving.
Gotcha. So you could definitely get those two in line and try to do the lightning bolt again.
Yeah, so it'll have to break away to get like the positioning.
Gotcha. So that one's the muddled that's in there. So it can strike out. It will subtract. I should have had you roll the subtract, but I don't think that matters in the least bit because it'll have, what is that, like a 9.
Yeah, okay, so that will miss the Galvin, and then it's gonna do the static discharge again.
Dex 15, you said on that one?
Yes, believe so. Oh no, sorry, 14. 14.
13 was my magic number to pass. Roll 26. So yeah, I think that's just gonna be smashed and mortal, and then it'll go to Fen. Pretty much at this point, Fen, you need to land like 1 or 2 hits. 2 hits is pretty much a guarantee kill on the last of these foes.
All right, then I'm gonna go up and start the attack. I'm just gonna plan to attack normally.
And you guys have the understanding that when Fen releases his wall of water, you guys are going to have an onrush of more of these creatures. So as you sit here and prepare, Galeria is probably, I should have counted it, but I think we're probably on turn like 5 or so of this. Galeria has a little bit more time with her actual Spirit Guardians. Yep, that's the kill right there. Just done. And then, the wall of water can last for another like 9 or so minutes. But it's the question of is if you rush to it, you can get those Spirit Guardians in play when the creatures come. But it's kind of up to you here. You've got, you can take the time that you need, or you can move straight to it. What are you all thinking?
Yeah, so Brennick is saying if Fen can keep it up for another, for a little bit longer, if he can get close enough to maybe get off a spell before it dissipates, maybe weaken the wave before they come charging in.
Yeah, because I got a fireball I want to shoot off too. We don't have to rush it, but we get everything in place, set up the trap, and then we could just lower it when we're ready. And someone may want to touch the moon and twirl and see if that will grant you a free spell.
Glorious.
Sorry, go ahead, Rashad.
I said Galeria was actually gonna inspect and actually take the time to use cure rooms at least twice on Brennick and herself real quick, and she's going to check the fan as well before moving over to the.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, don't even worry about the time frame because Spirit Guardians is going to be gone.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, she's gonna go ahead. She's definitely gonna go ahead and cast core runes on Brennick and herself.
Yeah, when I tell you that you're on limited time, don't tell me that you have 3 spells that you want to cast because that's 6 seconds each spell. As far as like the conversation that Brennick and Fen had, they said so much alone that time's already flying by. But like the way you're thinking about it, you guys just plan for how you want to do this. So you can get some healing downwind on each other. You can plan which planets that you are interested in trying to use, and what you perceive as the potentials of what they will cast.
Yeah, Brennick would be moving towards the Toral orb planet.
Part of what I mean also is if I'm ever talking about there being a limited time frame, you guys should know that I have timers that I run to actually see like real world time flying by. If I can have a 1 minute timer click by, that's at least 6 seconds in game. You guys can't just like take like an infinitude of time like of out of game. So it's one thing that gets lost on like being in person. I can set a timer in front of the DM screen and you guys like see every word that you say. A bit of time goes by. But as you reach out for Toril and touch, you will feel. Let's see. With that one, kind of as you reach out and touch Toril, you kind of have this moment where you kind of grow and come to the size from like this tiny little blip on it to this person who's standing on a disc like the size of them, to all of a sudden Tarl is like the size of the palm of your hand. And you see as you kind of like reach and almost hold it up in front of your face, you start to see as your flesh starts to turn a pale gray. And it starts to like run down your palm, down your forearm. And over the next few moments, you're going to see as your flesh becomes stone. You can cast Stone Skin. I think you're the one person that doesn't help. But I'm pretty sure how Stone Skin is worded, your AC cannot go below the number it sets it at, whereas Mage Armor just like sets it at the number.
I'll go ahead and roll for this real quick.
So it looks like Stone Skin doesn't actually do anything for AC. It gives you resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage.
Oh yeah, word. Yeah, I was under the impression Stone Skin was
I think Bark
One
Skin
up
is the
on
one
Bark
that does
Skin.
the AC. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought Bark Skin was just a lower level of it. But yeah. All right, cool. So you can gain resistance to the 3 mains.
Yeah, Brennick's looking pretty bad, so he would go ahead and cast that on himself if there's time before things,
Yeah, Fen can hold the wall of water for 10 minutes. You guys are at 1 minute. There's no way you're going to use up all of this. You guys can't cast rituals, but
I'm gonna test the other one.
there's 5 planets in there, so what do you want to touch? Saloon and the Gas Giant are the 2 that have not been touched.
I'm gonna test the gas giant.
And Rashad, which one of those was for Brannick and which one was for Galeria? The 7 to 2.
Yeah, the seventh for you. Actually, you can take. I'm gonna let you take both of those, and I'm gonna do one more for just me.
So, as Galeria reaches out to the gray planet, you will have a similar vision as to the others, where you begin to kind of grow, and for a moment you're kind of present and almost atop this planet, as if you were standing on it to grow to this massive size. And you start to become like a celestial body to yourself, with this entire constellation rotating around you. And you start to feel the powers of wind kind of flying and circling around you, and for a moment you feel light on your feet, as if you have nothing that you are standing on. And you come to recognize that you have become the wind. You can't actually cast it, but you will currently benefit from the spell Fly. As you all notice, Galeria, from the moment she touched that planet, she began to levitate and fly from the ground of that.
And do we have did Fen when he was up on top, did he get any sense of how many Nothics are currently stuck outside on the other side of the wall, or too high to see? You just know there are some.
I would say the Fen saw a small group. You guys have encountered a few groups of four at this point. I don't see any reason that he would not expect that. In his vision, though, I did describe that Fen was looking at between like 15 and 20. So it's kind of up to you at this point to interpret whether you expect like another group of four has maybe joined while you were in battle, or whether you guys think that there were three waves, and in the initial vision, you just saw them differently. But it is up to you whether you think that there might be two waves, or at least the single that you had seen at that time.
Gotcha. And is the wall of water like just outside the like these stairs?
Yeah, like as you guys look out of the actual door, like it is at the edge of the tower. So where like the stone of the outer like diameter of the tower is, the water basically starts. So you're kind of looking into the actual wall of water at the open door, because I believe you guys had to break the door off the hinges.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. And this wall is, I'm guessing, opaque. We can't see through it. Mostly,
I'm
mostly
pretty sure you can't see through wall of water, but
mostly asking for purposes of like spell targeting.
roll a Arcana check for me. So I would say you can recognize that slinging fire through the wall of water is probably a poor choice. But you guys could certainly manage some things through the wall. Just might be worth keeping in mind what elements are contrary to one another when you kind of decide what you would like to do.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking fireball. I'm trying to decide if the other thing is similarly affected.
So what are y'all thinking here? Yeah, I feel like giving you more information is for like if you had the wall versus right now, there's no real reason for you guys to fully understand it.
Yeah. But I think Brannick wants to. He's going to look to the others. I'm going to try something, and he's going to start moving towards towards the front, towards the entrance to the tower, like just on the side of the wall.
Show me where you're thinking. Let me have you make a Constitution saving throw, please, sir. You kind of move to the other side of this tower and start to come closer to the door. You can start to see that there are indeed figures on the other side, but very quickly you feel the same pain inside of your head and the same feeling of something is starting to invade. Oh, my bad. Is your wisdom different than your constitution?
Subtract 2 from that. So be 17.
Still works. So as you kind of like start to approach it, you start to once again feel something starting to invade into your mind. And let's see. Oh yeah, my bad. There's no reason not to do the rotting gaze and keep it with the constitution. But a pass, you will take half damage of 9 more necrotic damage. But upon seeing it, you can do what you're thinking, and as well, you can confirm that there are 3 or 4 creatures on the other side of this wall right now.
Yeah, so he would like shout back like 3 or 4 to the others. He's going to try a vitriolic sphere, which is acid. So it's basically like an acidic fireball. It streaks out from him. He wants to try and kind of cast it through the wall into. He would just center it probably on the creature, one of the creatures that he can see. Not sure how many he'd hit, but
Oh, is that 10-foot diameter?
and there's a lot of ones on damage.
I should say 18 and 19. What's going on there?
The 18 is the initial damage, and then if it fails, it takes. I actually rolled higher with 5d4 than the first. So the 10d4 is the initial. That's the 18. If it fails, it would then take
because
19
it
on
maintains
next
the
turn.
area.
Yes,
Okay,
it lasts
gotcha.
for 2 turns because it just splashes them. If it passes, it just takes half from the first and not any of that 19. Normally, you would think 10d4 would be higher than 5d4, but
So outside of initiative here, this is kind of happening a little bit differently here. But as you go to clear that area, another of these creatures is going to reach out to your mind. I want you to do another Constitution saving throw, please.
I am going to burn another 7 of my inspiration on that one.
Gotcha. So you can pass that. You will take 5 more necrotic damage as you basically clear the area. So you have a solid sense of recognizing these things can look in just as much as you guys can look out. It is not a clear view. It is dangerous to be doing because they can look in just as much as you. But you gain the information that you wanted. You definitely fucked them up. That is a certainly effective way of surprising them. But you kind of now have a sense of the cost that it will be to do this again. But you guys can kind of continue to plan and decide what you would like to do with these potential threats outside.
Yeah, I think Brannick, after doing that once and kind of, maybe the others saw him kind of like flinch, he would be trying to back away and warn them, like, essentially like they're getting through the wall. They're doing something that's getting through. and Brannick gets back to looking very kind of rough after. He's like, I did what I can. Can't get close again. And how many times should I be able to roll for the Galvin to see if it recovers that static discharge thing?
Ah, man, at this point, we've had at least like 6 turns go by. As far as I'm concerned, it can have it.
Okay, gotcha.
It's quite literally every 6 seconds. It's one of the reasons why monsters are meant to die. They're not meant to have players' turns. That's why their shit all works differently.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to retcon that into like saying you can use it like certain number of times per day or something, that's good with me. So
It just depends how long I let it live.
yeah, it's looking kind of rough.
Yeah, so I don't know what the anybody else has planned, but I was gonna drop the wall and shoot a fireball at the entrance when they start coming in. But I think the more wounded people should move towards the back.
Yeah, maybe Brannick is going to try to. Um, is the stairway pretty open? Like, is there any chance he could try to? I mean, they might be able to sense him anyway, but he might try to essentially conceal himself and hide if there's like anything to actually hide behind. I'm not sure how open the stairway is.
Roll a Arcana for me here. These are creatures that sense your minds. Do you have mind blank?
Yeah, I do not.
You do not have a way to really hide from these creatures.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting. Yeah.
Like, you could hide yourself where you want to, but it doesn't change the fact that they know exactly where you are.
Yeah. The only other thing I was thinking is if I could turn myself into essentially a mindless beast, and maybe then I'd be too stupid for them to sense me. But still, they'll see me, so no real point in that either. Yeah, but I think Brannick will essentially he would kind of move back this way, and yeah, just essentially he would ready or hold a he'd probably just hold a cantrip because he doesn't want to risk losing the spell slot. But otherwise, he's essentially like I'm as prepared as I can be to fend.
Gotcha. Do you have the Galvin at your side here?
I'm gonna have it spread out.
All right, good idea. Because right now I need all 3 of you to make a wisdom saving throw. As you see, as a creature kind of like forms out of the ethereal right in front of you all, and you see just a blast of color. And Fen, you have advantage on this. All of you all just see all of these sparkles and all of these beautiful colors just kind of floating down as they just cascade across your vision. Ha ha! Advantage be damned. Then, this is a friendly creature. You are currently incapacitated. You have a speed of 0. Oh, and as this cascading light starts to drip across your visions, you all hear as this like continuous waterfall outside of the room just dissipates into silence and just lost concentration. And let's have everybody roll initiative. Galeria, did you I think the hammer always gives you advantage on this, Galeria. It came out of the ethereal plane. I don't think it has to warn you. You guys knew you were in threats. I'm going to take that away. I'm going to stick with that 7. What is your dexterity, Galeria? +1? It's definitely lower.
Yeah. I don't know what I did with this coffee, but it is so damn better.
Ben, what's your dexterity?
20.
20? Word. All right, so Galeria, as this creature kind of like fades out of like the nothingness in front of you, and you see this shower of beautiful colors, what would you like to do?
I'm gonna hit it with as soon as I see it fade out of the colors, I'm gonna try to hit it with a sacred flame.
Gotcha. You see as it kind of sidesteps this light kind of forming from the stars above. No effect. Any bonus action? Any movement? Otherwise, it is the end of your turn.
Yeah, that'll be it. She's a flabbergasted.
Brennick, please make a Constitution saving throw as you feel one of these creatures starting to invade your brain. You will take 6 necrotic damage as it kind of starts to melt through you.
And that will drop right.
Yeah, Fen is currently stunned here. You're going to have 2 more of these creatures move in. Oh wait, Brennick's turn. Yeah, they still move first. Was it odds Galeria and even is the Magian? So 1 on each. I think they're just going to move in and do pretty much that same thing, just a rotting gaze at each of them. So Galeria, make a Constitution saving throw, and Brennick, a Constitution saving throw. My bad. This would have been from the Galvin. It's not on you.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But what is that? It's an 18 and an 11. So it will pass there. So the Galvin's going to take 5 damage. Galeria, you're going to take 10 necrotic damage as these 2 things close in. So the Galvin has its ability to react and protect you. Roll a intelligence for me with its modifier of plus 1.
+1.
Actually, I can use Arcana. Does it have Arcana? Doesn't look like it does. Hey, that's enough. You can shake Ben to bring him back into reality, or you could also attack these creatures. 2 of them are bloodied. But it can basically recognize. It could also potentially stabilize Brennick, which may be a little bit more of interest, because it is basically protecting you. But I'll leave that up to you to decide what it thinks is the best way to protect you. I think it could probably lightning bolt any 2 of these creatures, but it's potential that shaking Fen back into consciousness might be the best of choices for it.
Yeah, and it would have kind of overheard the plan. He knows Fen can deal some damage. So it would, I think it would, knowing that it can shake Fen out of the stupor, that's what it's going to do.
Excellent. Oh, and Gleary, I need a Constitution saving throw to maintain your flight. So that can bring Fen out of being incapacitated here. And it's going to go back to the creature itself.
Oh, and you need a death save from Brannick, right?
Oh, yeah, my bad. That would have actually happened first, too. But yeah, theoretically before the Galvin. Dude, that sucks because that 20 should have been it. I want you to stand up with Galvin and re-roll its intelligence before you get a chance to shake Fen. Your next roll was a 20. That fucking sucks to take that away to standing up at 1 hit point.
So you want to use that 20 as my death save?
Yes, please.
Gotcha. That works for me.
So roll the actual test to see if the Galvin can understand before we recognize whether Fen actually. Yeah,
Not that.
we'll ignore the ability to recognize an easy solution for Fen. But yeah, you can take 1 hit point. You are down on the ground. I think the stone skin would dissipate, so you've lost that for what it is worth. But you've got these targets basically in view as the last of these magical sparkles are dripping across the floor.
Right. So if the Galvin wasn't intelligent enough to do that, could it still have attacked?
Oh, 100%. My big thing was just to recognize that was the easy recognition of how to kind of bring Fen back into the game.
Right. And was this the creature set up? Because essentially it's going to kind of move here and
yeah, the big bad one is definitely the purple one there.
Yeah, so it's going to do the static discharge here to try and hit that and the wounded Nothic.
Said DC's 14 on that one.
Yes. Yep.
What are you doing with Brannick, though?
Oh, right, because that was the start of the turn. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he is going to stand up, and things are looking pretty desperate. Fen's kind of frozen. He's going to throw another vitriolic sphere. I think down kind of this area, so should be able to, or probably more over here to miss the Galvin. But I think,
yeah, I'd say you could hit the 5 of them, or you could hit the 3.
Yeah, I think he's just going to aim it so that he just hits the 3.
Gotcha.
So not hitting the Galvin or the Nothic in the corner.
That was still a dexterity save?
Yes, let me roll the damage here. Oop, gotta take off Whisper, sorry.
And the second half of that is on their next turn. If they failed.
End of its next turn, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you'll see as those splashes kind of explode, covering a few of the planets. Seems kind of comical to me. I guess you could cast it above them so it rains down on top. That the one's got an entire planet between it and the explosion. But you see as it kind of rains down, one of them entirely melting away, pretty much at this point. Not bloodied on the more badass of them. No, actually it is in a bloodied state. But yeah, overall, pretty severely wounding all of these creatures, having absorbed now 2 of these blasts of acid. You've got the Galvin then steps up and blasts across, kind of killing that last one with its lightning bolt, and hitting the kind of main one as well. It will go to that creature, and I think at this point, I need... Ooh. Think Brennick, Galeria, Galvin. Each creature within 30 feet that it can see. I feel like that includes Ben, even though it doesn't want to target him. I think I need it from you as well, please, Fen. Wisdom saving throw from all 4. Alright, so I think it's going to knock down Brennick regardless here. I don't think you can survive that. 9 damage to Brennick and Galeria. And this is psychic damage. And then it's going to do 18 psychic damage to Fen, which will bring you back to consciousness. And 18 psychic damage to the Galvin. And you all... No, realistically, I think this is more Fen, and it doesn't really affect anything. The Galvin will immediately kind of like sense this almost like feeling inside your head that you are being watched. It's that same feeling as when you're like looking around in real life and thinking like somebody's looking at me. But this is like when you like say somebody's looking at me, you hear something almost like repeating, nobody's looking at you. And then you're like, that's not my voice. Of course that was your voice. It's not my voice. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. You just have this creepy feeling inside your head that this creature is inside there with you. And then it is going to... Oh, cockeye! And then you'll see as it blinks, and it's gone. And for a moment then, Fen, you'll have kind of peace as this voice seems to be gone. Illyria, what would you like to do?
I'm going to actually use my action to use one of my traits to lay on hands. Give myself 10 more HP.
Gotcha. Lay on hands is an action, and currently Brennick is also down. Do you have any thoughts on that? That maybe do you have another ability to
Actually,
use the...
Yeah, let me see. Let me see. Actually, no. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna use the lay on hands on. Actually, I'm gonna use the lay on hands on Brannick, and that'll and then on this other, and then that'll be it for my turn. Actually, lay on hands on.
Do you have a bonus action prepared right now that you might be able to cast?
Compelled duel.
I mean, you could potentially compel duel one of the creatures if you would like. Have you... This is another time I'm just going to ask because you're jumping into a high-level cleric. Have you prepared, was it spiritual weapon?
It is prepared, but hold on. I don't think I have any more slots for it.
2nd level?
Yeah, my 2nd level slots are gone.
Oh, good. Do you have any 4th level spell slots that you would use?
Nope, I got 1 spell slot level left, and that is the 1st.
Yeah. Nah, it's a worthy thing to save and conserve. So theoretically, the end of Galeria's turn, sinking some hit points into Brennick. Did you decide how many of your lay on hands you're putting into him?
I'm actually put 15 into him.
All right. Keep in mind here, healing is good if he's at 1 hit point or if he's at 15. They're both pretty much the same here. But after Galeria's turn, we are going to go back to top of the order as a dead one. It goes to Fen. You are coming out of this kind of like glitz and glam kind of spreading around. You like see and feel this creature inside of your mind, and then it blinks out of existence from in front of you. Galeria goes and theoretically moves to Brennick. You could move somewhere else afterwards. But what would Fen like to do here, sir?
So after sort of coming to his senses, albeit a little off put by the voices inside his head, he's going to move up and attack the bloodied Nothic.
Gotcha. So there's one closer to the Galvin that is bloodied. There's one over there. Are you just thinking 3 attacks into the same one, make sure it's dead?
Yeah, I'm going to do 3 attacks on this. Sword and 2 one-armed.
Let's see it. And theoretically, we're just going to have one going before Brennick's turn. I don't think that one can survive. Yeah, that looks like a solid kill. 2 of them hit for 17. Yeah, hit it at 13. So it will fall on the second of those attacks. And the last one, I think it's just going to claw into the Galvin with 2 attacks. I don't think those are going to hit with a 12 and a 13.
Just miss. The 13 will just miss.
Should have tried to make it rot. Well, an 18, it's not really thinking self-preservation. I think that's going to end it, and it's going to take it to you there, Brennick. You've now been healed again. You've seen Ben take out the other. There's one more by your Galvin. At present, that is the threats that you guys have. I feel like you went down not noticing that the other creature had like disappeared.
I think it was down before that happened. Did you use the exhaustion? Because I think I've gone down like 3 times now in the same.
No. We ended that ages ago. That was one of those things that I think is a really good rule. The problem is it is 100% a like TPPK snowball.
Okay. Oh yeah, I wasn't sure if that was like an official rule or a variant rule or just a homebrew. I couldn't remember, so I just wanted to double check. Yeah, he's going to stand up, kind of looking at Galeria thankfully again. He's gonna move a little bit, and he is going to throw a 3rd level magic missile into this remaining Nothic that he can see.
Third level is 5.
Oh, one more. Yep. So that should be 16 total.
Yeah, just and you just watch as like point by point these all smack into the same area of this thing's chest before, as it kind of like slowly crumbles to the ground, you see this like last moment where there's just like blood splattered behind it on the wall, kind of having created like a massive hole. Not necessarily a massive hole, a tiny little hole, just like directly through this thing's clavicle.
It's like perforated here.
It's hard to remember that magic missile is so accurate that it actually hits like the exact same point. It's not just that they hit. It's just like wherever you're looking, there's going to be a hole.
Yeah, so that's Brannick and
So Calvin doesn't necessarily have something to do here, but this is a chance. You are still relatively in combat if you want to roll that d6. So it'll have it back for when things come back.
and
And
I think
it
it's
is a
going to have.
potential.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's a potential where you could also kind of hold its action. It's one of the weird things of how much like consciousness to give that thing. Roll an Arcana for me, or just roll like a d20.
Because the other thing I was thinking is it would essentially move to, because I think move where it saw the thing disappear, like next to that spot, if it can remember it, and just kind of
Yeah, that's fine.
plan to reach out and try and shocking grasp it if it pops back in within reach of it.
You have um I can't think what it's called. Blink. Does Brannick have blink?
He does not.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would say it's kind of like a little bit of like a shared consciousness with this thing. But it's more like you can kind of intuit some magic. But as far as things go, like it vaguely understands what's going on, but it can't quite communicate it to you. Like these things don't actually have language, but there is like a certain level where it's still kind of connected to you. Um, so I feel like I'll kind of like leave it kind of there where you have like a sensation of the magic that it's kind of like almost like sharing with you through this link. But it basically is trying to convey something that you don't quite have. Brennick, and then it is on it. Um, I'm gonna say at this point, will kind of like drop out of the actual combat here. You guys don't have any sense of where this thing is. It doesn't seem to have returned, and we can kind of let you guys like sink into kind of being out of combat and continue to potentially explore here.
We haven't seen anything that looks like that before, right? Like this has looked different than the other, like the Gothics and
I mean, there's basically a classic level of all of these things are entirely individual, but I would say, yeah, on some level, um, let me start with like a nature check from you. Yeah, I'd say on some level you're kind of coming to the recognition that there are creatures that basically fall to this blight, and there are creatures that become much more than the blight. And yeah, I'd say on some level this creature was more. But how it distinguishes from the others that you just encountered that were more, I don't think you have kind of a clear sense of. But I think there's a certain level of basically understanding, perhaps just enough to recognize, like, maybe the Nothics are simply humanoids who suscepted to it, whereas some of the other creatures were actually specialists or people who were actually of kind of renown. And you're kind of coming in contact with maybe actual wizards of the Netheril or things like that, where you kind of recognize like not everything simply like falls. Sometimes they remain somewhat of their humanoid form.
okay. Okay, so Brennick is going to thank Illyria for keeping him alive. First off, he'll have the Galvin kind of back with him. The Galvin is also looking kind of in bad shape, but it's and like once they tell him kind of that it kind of blinked out of existence and they don't know where it went because I think Brannick was down for a lot of that. Well, wherever it went, let's hope it doesn't come back anytime soon.
Let me get a group wisdom here. Crushing it.
Yeah, well, he did go down multiple times. He's probably got a concussion, and
I mean, that's one of those things where I really do like the 1D&D style of giving inspiration on like crit fails and crit successes, because there's been multiple chances where you guys would have like gotten these back. So there's a few things kind of going on here. You guys can potentially continue inside of this tower and continue looking. But Galeria certainly recognizes, one, a lot of you are severely wounded, and while it's early in your day, you at least need some time to recover, and potentially want to just weather this day passing for what it is potentially worth. But also, the Nothics were waiting around this tower. You guys have opened the door.
yeah, we don't even know that's the last of them. Another wave shows up, we could be in trouble. Or that thing. We retreat to lick our wounds for a bit.
That would be a good idea. Have one more healing spell and 5 more points for lay on hands. I won't be able to heal anyone else after that. I could probably restrain something, but who knows if it'll work. But retreating and resting up for the day would definitely do us some good.
We're intending to bring time's worth of Luminos to the Conjuration Tower. Perhaps we just cut short our investigations here and try to get there, or find some other place to just lay low for a bit. Someplace away from here.
That's an second plan. The further place we can't be. If we can make it back there to the rooms, that would be great. But I am down for finding a safe space nearby if that is what everyone wants.
Yeah, so with that, Brannick is going to start moving towards the door.
Is that the goal, to exit the divination tower and head towards Conjuration and shelter there, as well as drop off time's worth and Luminos?
Yep.
Yep.
Check this real quick. Excellent. And let's say, let me get a D12 from everyone. Doesn't even, actually, no. Let's see how many ones you guys can roll.
You jinxed it.
Bruh.
I had to jinx it because I was gonna say it doesn't even matter because you rolled 1, but I had to see. Come on, you guys have been getting the lich all these times. Let's get a lich right now where you have nothing left.
I got my running shoes on.
Right, and it may be the time that you want to use them. So as you guys kind of like step away from the divination tower, and you kind of like start to look over the city and start to move towards the conjuration tower and away from divination, you're going to get to a point where you spot kind of away from you and towards like the actual arboretum, kind of like south and slightly to the east of you. You just see like wisps of ice blowing through the trees. And you can kind of see as there's almost like three little patterns where the trees seem to almost have like these tiny little trying to think what they call the mini tornadoes. We used to have them all the time in Ohio, where like they would pick up on Lake Erie, and it would be just like this tiny little water spouts. You see these tiny little like 20, 30 foot tall, just like wisps of the wind, like swirling around, and like the ice freezing the air. Even in this place that's already 40, 50 degrees below zero. You see these like three wisps of cold. And they don't really dawn on you at first. And then you hear the first. And you start to notice like that howl comes from the direction of the arboretum. You start to see these little like water spouts of cold are starting to all move and converge towards your location. Guys are probably about 100 or so feet. Nothing to Fen. It's so sad to like make up a number and it's like Fen's there. Done. Guys are about like 100 or so feet away from the Tower of Conjuration, kind of towards the edge of the library. When you see these three winter wolves step out of the trees. They're about 50 or 60 feet away from you. You're close to the entrance of the library. You've got the Conjuration Tower about 100 feet away. Do you run? Do you shelter in the library and hope that you can bar the doors? Or would you like to fight them?
Run.
Just immediately made me think of like the memed like clown shit, where like a clown steps out in front of you in the middle of the dark, and it just immediately sets in like that panic music. Run.
Yeah, that's what I thought about too. And I'm like,
Yeah. Run.
Brannick's actually almost thinking he's.
If you've got the spell for it, you can teleport to that entryway. Ben can be there in a second. You can open it with your mage hand. You guys are in there in less than 6 seconds and you're good. Do you have
No,
the spell slot for it?
No, he can't. I was thinking something else, but we're going to need the mage. Forgot we're going to probably need the mage hand to open the door, so we can't. I was essentially going to polymorph and like fly off, but um,
What level? What limitations does polymorph have right now? Can you polymorph into a rock? I feel like that's the biggest flying creature you've seen.
I think it has to be a CR. I feel like it had to be like a CR less than or equal to. But I don't actually see anything on the.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Is I don't know if it has a CR limit on it, like the druid does.
Oh yeah, equal to or less than the target's level. So it has to be CR. Well, CR 10 or less. And is a rock a beast, or is that considered a monstrosity for purposes of like the transformation?
It is a monstrosity. My apologies. And it's CR11.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I was more thinking. Because if I cast it on myself, I don't know. Like, am I like in the beast form smart enough to know when to drop concentration? Probably not.
Not normally, nope.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. If we need Mage Hand, maybe he'll just run. He'll just run with his feet. Yeah, he doesn't have too much left.
So if everybody flat out books it, again, Fen is there. And he's basically waiting for you guys like 20 feet or so away from the door. You've got to make it 80 feet before Brennick actually rushes forward to open it with the mage hand. I don't think you guys have another way to open the door at present. You've got the wolves behind you about 50 or so feet. I think Galeria and Brennick are probably the slowest too, just going 60 feet.
Yeah. If I used Misty Step to get that second 30 feet, and then would I be able to cast a Mage Hand with a 30-foot range, so 90 feet total to reach the door?
I don't think Misty Step helps you because you can dash the same distance.
Well, it's more because Misty
Oh
Step's
wait,
a bonus
Misty
action.
Step is a bonus. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm
So-
thinking. If I do that, I can still use my action to cast the cantrip Mage Hand to try to get the door open if it's within 90 feet.
Still puts you
where
at
I am
90. Yeah, I put you guys at 100 just as the guess. I'm sticking to that. So
Okay, in
I
that
would
case,
say
I'll just
no. You're
run,
going.
yeah.
I mean, for what it's worth, I would say you probably do that because it's a good check. But you basically like run Misty Step, and as you're like reaching out with the mage hand, you just watch it kind of like move towards the door as it dissipates, like it's gone too far.
Or
I would say the fact that you're thinking about it is enough, like that you try it.
actually, since Misty Step is a bonus action, I could run, I could move, dash with my action, and Misty
But
Step.
it's the action to cast the mage hand is the problem.
Yeah, so it still would not be until next turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'll try it because I don't know I'm 100 feet away. So
Yeah.
sprint.
So I'd say you basically like you kind of like just like pop in front of Fen. You kind of like run away as he runs past you. Galeria, you're kind of like running up as you watch Brennick summon the hand, and the hand's going to reach out. As far as things go, I think the wolves are going to close in on you, and they are going to encircle Galeria, but they can't yet attack you. So the real problem at this point is that right now Galeria is surrounded by those wolves. What kind of thoughts do you all potentially have with that?
And now at this point, how far is Galeria from us, from Brennick?
Galeria can cover 60 feet. So she's like 30 feet away from you. Well, really, you can't even go the full 90. You went 60 as well, right? Yeah, you went.
Yeah, I only got 60. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess realistically, Galeria, it's the question of, are you guys going to split up because Fen can move faster? Or does Fen kind of stick with them? Because the wolves are going to dash to catch up as they can move 100 feet. No, you're 60 feet. We'll keep you at a distance of them because they're limited to 100. So they're about 10 feet behind the two of you at that point. So realistically, I do need to put this to initiative to really see how it will go down. So let's roll initiative. don't need the actual counter though.
You know, I'm going to give myself Can I use Portent on initiative or no?
I don't see why not.
Because I feel like maybe he as we're leaving
you
the
give-
tower, he gets this.
Can you give Galeria important? I think actually this is one of the places where the hammer could warn you. And I'm pretty sure that's what it gives you. So Galeria is a 21 as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give myself the 17 then.
17 is the actual roll, or is that already modified with your dex added?
Oh, so I think now I can't remember if it just replaces the total or if it's the roll and then adds.
It's the roll.
Okay, so in that case, then it would be +3. Yeah, +3 to that dexterity.
That's part of what's so bad about having like 10s.
right. So it would be 20.
Something
then.
could still entirely hit you. Yeah, I would say at this point, because it's interesting, I'm giving them a single roll. I need a 20 pretty much. Yeah, I'd say kind of at this point, they're just kind of nipping at your heels. And I don't see any reason with that kind of distance that they wouldn't be able to basically get to this door right as you all are able to close it basically in their faces. Let me get a religion from everyone, and it can be an advantage for Galeria. That's going to be enough for Brennick to recognize, and enough for Fen to recognize. There's only 1 point for these creatures to be here at this time. You guys are getting closer and closer to the arrival of the goddess of winter. And I think with you guys getting into the Tower of Conjuration, finding a place that you can sit tight and rest, we will pick up with you all can make the decision on whether this is going to be a short rest or whether you're going to essentially spend much more time inside of here to eventually get to the point where you can calm yourselves enough to long rest. Because I'm pretty sure with my notes, you guys are, even with a really busy day, yeah, I had today starting at 10 a.m. So you're still looking at like you guys had a really early start and you're about to have a really early night, but you still have plenty of time to burn before you get there.
Yeah. Feels a little. Is that probably that whole actual in-game amount of time was not that long. Brannick is pretty white. He basically had to use most of what he had left in the tank to just escape those wolves.
Yeah, I think you guys are pretty close to where you need to spend the time with the long rest. Having figured out the Tower of Conjuration, there's very little about that that can do anything but be a perfectly protected place. So for what it is worth, you guys pretty much have unlimited time while you're inside of there. I'm not sure at what point that could break down and be something that you lose access to. But for present, you guys essentially have access to Magnificent Mansion. The only difference is this is a permanent spell. So anybody else who can get into the tower, who can get past that entry riddle, who then walks through that second room, can enter into the tower. But you're otherwise safe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. The biggest risk is if these wolves have some way to communicate. Probably they do have some way to communicate with Oral or whoever about where we are. We could get if we're quote unquote in the the safe tower, but if we get surrounded, then yeah, and there's nothing stopping something smarter from finding its way in after us. So
Yeah, it's a safe place that is entirely not safe. And that's one of the things I think you guys need to kind of come to terms with. There's a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses to it. But at present, it offers shelter. And yeah, I don't think you'll ever worry about the wolves themselves making their way in.
Yeah, I think at this point we have to risk it because we are, we're pretty beat up. I mean, we can, if Rashad or Don, if you have any thoughts about doing a short rest instead, so you do that too.
Oh no, Valyria wants a long rest.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Rashad said Galeria's at one spell slot as well. I feel like Don might need a short rest to be perfectly fine, but it's definitely the question of you guys bank on the magical skills just as much as bank on his prowess. And it's one of those things where part of his resources are definitely your resources being spent.
Yeah, we wouldn't be too much help after a short rest if Fen be pretty much on his own.
So one of the other things that I think is kind of gone like a little bit unsaid there, but we'll kind of continue forward with among the things for you guys to recognize, is that the actual top of the Tower of Divination is one of the things that has been basically destroyed. As far as combining the new module with the old information, I think part of what we'll go for there is like a little bit of a soft recognition that like what is the observatory on this map, you guys can kind of recognize as like the peak of the divination tower. And that kind of brings like both sort of theories back together. I don't like that this book just gets rid of the observatory, but I do like that the divination and the observatory are the same place. So I feel like that's kind of the best way to like recognize it, because the divination tower is meant to be missing a part of it. That's the entire reason why, like in the initial module, it starts out with like the mirror of Savras. Is basically at some point you're supposed to be enticed to say, Savras, tell me where the plaque to the divination tower is. That's what you're supposed to sacrifice an eye for, Rashad. Not greedy stuff like loot. Greedy stuff like the biggest loot that gets you into the tower. But yeah, you guys are definitely getting to the end of all this. I think the Tower of Conjuration is a solid place to hide out. I think one of the biggest threats to you in that place is honestly Avarice. And you guys have already essentially made a deal with her instead of making her your enemy. So I think you've got a solid place. You guys will have to make a decision on how much you fear the entrance of Arl, if you think it even has a chance, versus whether you wonder, like, can a god just walk in here? That's one of those things that I think you guys should try to mull over. But yeah, I definitely feel like we are getting close to where you guys have all the information to walk into the central tower and learn a little bit more. Is there anything else that you guys can think of that you've like felt like you haven't done in the city and you thought you were going to or wanted to do?